I didn't do this show to be on TV. I did the show because I want to do this show. I feel it's important. And I want to have a show that actually, the end result could be that some that watch it will actually value food a tiny bit more and think about the stuff that they have around them every day.
This is Taste. I'm your host, Matt Rodbard. Today on the show, I welcome in René Redzepi of Noma. We talk about so much. We talk about his new series on Apple TV+, Omnivore. It's really terrific. I love the coffee episode so much. He also had a cameo on The Bear this season. Wow, we had such a great catch-up about what's happening at Noma, his life in Copenhagen. We also talk about home cooking. We talk about cookbooks. We talk about his time in New York. It's such a cool thing having René in the studio, and I hope you enjoy this conversation. René Redzepi, welcome to This Is Taste. What a fun day to have you in the studio.
It is a fun, baking hot day in New York. Yes, absolutely.
And we're going to get to Omnivore on Apple TV+. What a tremendous show. I've screened 5 of the 8 episodes.
Wonderful.
And
happy to hear.
I had it on when I was working. I actually used it as an audio thing. I didn't even see the incredible visuals, and it works because the writing is so amazing.
Wow. Okay.
There's some real ASMR in there, too.
Yeah, I love food ASMR. It's the best.
It's truly the best. All right, so let me ask you, before we get to the show, I'd like to know a little bit about what your New York experiences are like right now. What we always ask, what's good right now? Where are you going to dine?
I think when I come to New York, I want to eat the stuff that I can't get back home in Denmark. And in Denmark, we have pasta houses, we have the Nordic style dining, vegetables, seafoods, and so on and so forth. So when I come here, I search out Indian places, kind of Mexican food, Thai food, Vietnamese food, stuff like that. So we've been to Bungalow. We're going to try to go to Sema. We wanted to go to Mam.
Yeah.
Which looks fantastic. And that's
get in?
Yeah, we can get in.
Yeah. You're trying to do a lot of meals at once, but Sema, that sounds Indian food is on your radar right now.
Yeah. I mean, we don't really get it. I don't know much about it. I love all the diversity, the spice. So that's what we're searching out right now as we come here. Actually, we should figure out how to get that booking tonight. I'm staring over at my colleague, Ben Liebman.
Yeah, Ben, are you in Resi right now?
He got an instant sweat.
Yeah, booking for you has got to be a loaded question because, it's got to be the right spot. You have limited meals, right?
Yeah, we have very limited meals, but we are talking about it. And the thing is, when you book a table, same thing happens in Copenhagen. When we have chefs, and it could be any type of chef, is always the biggest VIP in most restaurants I know of. Bigger than stars, bigger than anyone, We can have, we actually had that not too long ago. We had a big chef from Spain dining with us, Ferran Adrià.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, that night we also had a very, very big Hollywood star. I won't mention any names, but the whole team was so excited that Ferran Adrià was there. They didn't care at all.
They didn't even care about
not at all.
The basic cable star. I'm just kidding. So what's Noma like right now? What's the menu like? You're in the final innings of the proper Copenhagen restaurant. You will be expanding Noma into a new universe, doing pop-ups. But what is this menu right now? What's on it?
It's vegetarian season. So we built this menu in spring, May and April. For some reason, our creativity is flowing right now. Some years, you have, it sort of goes back a little bit back and forth, but right now our creativity is flowing. It's perhaps the best vegetarian menu we've ever done. And I'm saying this as a Dane. I'm always worried about overstating things or sounding like you're bragging.
Yeah.
But I really think it's amazing right now. One thing that's super popular on the menu is bamboo shoots.
Okay.
And so
fresh
bamboo shoots. And we first, of course, served bamboo shoots in Japan when we did our pop-up there. And then upon returning home, Mette, the head of the test kitchen, she made it a mission for her to figure out whether we have bamboo growing enough in Denmark, and could we even serve it up. So she did some investigations, and she ended up actually talking to the zookeeper in Copenhagen
No
Zoo.
way.
Yeah, the one who was the caretaker of the pandas. And because we have pandas in the Copenhagen Zoo, we also grow bamboo for consumption, it turns out. So we now have bamboo that comes with a strong recommendation from the zookeeper of Copenhagen. And that has been very popular.
That must be a first for you, René. Sourcing from the zoo, probably.
Yeah. I mean, it's not from the zoo, but the zookeeper told us where to go.
Gave you where
but that's how it is often. We've gone through so many interesting, funny stories on how to find our foodstuffs. I mean, a few years back, there's another story. This was, we wanted to have fresh nuts on the menu. And we had a hard time finding walnuts, but we could see the trees around in gardens and so on and so forth. So we went to like a plant keeper, or whatever you call it, a plant grower, a large scale one that was selling walnut trees. And we asked them, and perhaps that wouldn't you couldn't do that today, but we asked them, hey, can you please supply us with a list of who have you sold walnut trees for in the past 20 years? And he actually gave us a list.
No way. And they're getting a call from Noma.
And and the same grower was also selling mulberry trees. And mulberry from a mulberry tree, not a bush, is one of the greatest fruits you'll ever taste in your life. So
I've had the dried ones before.
Like fresh mulberries in season from old trees is some of the best food, some of the best berries you'll ever taste.
We'll get to Omnivore now playing on Apple TV Plus. I have many questions to be able to screen many episodes. But last question about TV, I have to ask you about The Bear. You have quite a presence on the show. You, of course, make a cameo when Carmi, the fictitious character played by Jeremy Allen White, is staging at Noma. But also in the final scene, no spoilers, Malcolm Livingston, Rocio Sanchez are there, two of your former staff members and part of your team. So it's really cool to see the Noma universe portrayed on this massive show. How do you feel about The Bear representing your passion, your life on American television?
I mean, the funny story is I remember Matt Golding, the co-creator of Omnivore, he texted me some years back with videos of The Bear of the first season. I had never heard of it. Even though that I know Maddie and I know Chris, I've known them a long time before they ever did The Bear. We couldn't watch it for 2 years until it came to Copenhagen. So I was way behind. And I watched a few episodes. And then I stopped watching.
That's the common refrain from chefs.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, you can imagine yourself. It's a show, even though the show is fiction, it's still kind of a show of drama. And they have 45, 50 minutes to put in as much drama and as attention and energy as possible. And so when you come home from work, it's 11 o'clock, you just finished a long shift.
Yeah.
Like, okay, what's on tonight? Maybe I should check out an episode of The Bear. And suddenly you're living through perhaps one of the worst days you've had in the last 3 years, and you're reminded of that period from when you first opened. I'm really happy and proud that they are, that they feel like we have inspired them in the ways that we have. I actually also think that ultimately it's actually going to help our industry move forward because it's bringing attention to people in the industry and it's just bringing attention to the industry in general.
Agree. Foley, and especially when you talk about fine dining. And do you recognize Carmi at all? Do you recognize any of yourself in that character?
He's too nervous even for me, and I'm a nervous dude. But his twitches and he's like, hey, like corner chef. It's I've seen the characters before. Don't get me wrong. There are plenty of Carmis out there, no doubt. Actually, I have a funny story with Carmi that I'll tell you. The only way that I see myself in him is that we're both very short.
Short King, man. It's called Short King.
Okay, that's what
You're a Short King, René.
But when he was in Copenhagen last time, and I will only say this because he already told the story, but he went for a workout with us. And we're like 6 chefs working out 3 times a week, an hour and a half. And it's brutal, all-out workout, like the way chefs need it and want it. And he came and he's like, we're all 45 plus, and he's 32. and in super great shape. But he got destroyed. People like that.
Yes.
It's actually the first time I tell this to anyone, but only because he said it
He
himself.
said it on an interview.
Yeah, it was wild to see the way that my friends, us training together, a group of really tight friends, that we can just sort of switch our brains off, and then we just go crazy. For an hour and a
Kettlebells?
half.
Are there kettlebells in there?
Yeah, kettlebells, assault bikes, dips, burpees.
Oh, this is like CrossFit HIIT style HIIT workouts.
Oh yeah, but it just keeps going.
Okay, on to Omnivore. It's an ambitious, unique filmmaking feat. I have specific questions about episodes, but I want to ask you, when you and Matt Golding and Ben got together, why did you feel like there was more food television to be made?
Yeah, good question, because there's definitely a surplus of TV minutes
Yeah.
floating around on Earth, and perhaps also on food television. I think the type of food television that we wanted to do, which was always larger in scope, on the same scope level of, like, say, Planet Earth, and with a curiosity and a love and a dedication like David Attenborough would have to a forest or a tree or a tiny little leaf in some Amazonian jungle. I feel like I have that respect towards food, and I know Matt does as well. And we wanted something that brought that into life, where we tell the world that food is the most important thing, that the world is delicious and we should take care of it and we should know more about it and we should remember it. And we should do that with a show that kind of brings in so much effort and energy and commitment. It's the first show I've ever done, my first TV show ever. So it had to be something that was of that scope.
I mean, was there a push to put you on camera more and
of course there
do
was.
A Tony Bourdain style show?
No, never a Tony Bourdain style show, but there was a push to be more on camera. Absolutely, there was. But that was the idea from the get-go. I was never going to change that. I didn't do this show to be on TV. I did the show because I want to do this show. I feel it's important. And I want to have a show that actually, the end result could be that some that watch it will actually value food a tiny bit more and think about the stuff that they have around them every day and take more note and care for it. But the idea was always as little as possible, but as much as needed. But I told myself a maximum of 3 minutes per episode.
Love that. It makes a lot of sense. Now, listener, why I'm so drawn to the show is because there isn't wasted space. I think when you put a host on camera, there's like moments of like levity and jokes, but this is like such a well-written show. And
also no talking heads.
Well, yes, good point. It is like David Attenborough. It's a great comp. I feel that's exactly what you're getting with it. You're getting all this information, but it's really cut quickly. And I'm going to talk about the coffee episode first. Mm-hmm. It's a micro theme on our show. We talk a lot about it, and I've never seen television capture the journey of coffee like you've done. It's a real accomplishment. And going from a Rwandan washing station to a small micro roaster in North Carolina to the barista to back home and tracing coffee. And you bring the stat up that only 1% of coffee, like the money that coffee generates, goes back to the farm. I want to start there. How does that make you feel, René?
Well, it definitely made me feel very good about the barista that takes forever to brew the coffee with such care and respect, and you're paying more for it because that's the future. I've known that for a while. Of course, I didn't know to the extent of how crazy the coffee's journey was, that it sometimes touches 40 to 50 different hands before it becomes a cup of coffee for 50 cents or $1, I didn't know that. And the coffee episode is furthermore crazy because I know Arthur, who's the main protagonist, Arthur Caruletwa. I know him because he spoke at MAD. He's an outstanding, inspiring individual that lived through the genocide of Rwanda and came to America and became a professional basketball player and ultimately wanted to do something for his country and became a coffee specialist. And in the coffee episode, we learn that the genocide, perhaps one of the main culprits why it happened, is that people had nothing. And why did they have nothing? Because they were all growing coffee as cheaply as possible. And it left them in perpetual poverty and ultimately ended up in this terrible genocide. now coffee is what's fueling the economy.
Yeah, and there's people around Europe and America who are actually paying for green coffee and paying more.
Specialty coffee is making a difference. It's as simple as that. It really is.
Yeah, listener on Apple TV Plus, definitely tune into Omnivore and go to the coffee episode and watch the first third of it and see what a washing station looks like. I think a lot of listeners haven't seen a washing station in this way. It's really groundbreaking documentary filmmaking here, showing how coffee is naturally processed or washed and then goes on its longer journey. At the end of the episode, there's a beautiful scene of you and Nadine, your wife, making coffee. What's the setup like at your home in Copenhagen? I saw a little bit, definitely a pour over, but what's the setup like?
My coffee setup?
Yeah.
Oh, we have everything. I have a La Masocco in my home, tiny one, the small one.
I love the little one. That's a good one.
Yeah. I do mostly pour overs, actually. I travel with filter coffee. Most everywhere I go, I travel with filter coffee. I brew my own filter coffee.
Everyone knows that. You don't want to leave your hotel room without coffee.
Exactly.
That's good.
Yeah. I have a Triton V60. I also do AeroPress once in a while. My daughter, oldest one, she loves AeroPress. She prefers that for her iced coffee. That has to be AeroPress.
It's a beautiful technique there.
Yeah.
On to tuna, another favorite episode of mine. You really do a great job of two things. You really detail the cold chain and what brings tuna to our gas stations, sushi bars, and tuna is everywhere in America in the sushi front. But you also talk about a pivotal moment in sushi's kind of history in the globe. But first, let me ask you, as a chef, very few proteins. There's pig and there's tuna in this series in the first season. Why pick tuna as a chef? Why is that such an interesting protein to dig into?
I think tuna stands out as sort of the main, kind of almost like the Wagyu of the seafood world, the main luxury item. When we look at it, we could have chosen cod or herring. Many books have been written about it. True nation changers and makers, these two seafoods. But considering that we have corn and other great staples of humanity, it would have been a little too one note. So the tuna fit really well. And there's also an interesting story because we very recently found appetite for tuna as a people. It was trash fish not long ago, although the history of eating tuna and processing tuna is thousands of years old. And then we fell in love with it so much that we almost ate it into extinction.
Amazing stat there from 1970 to 1990. The price paid for Atlantic fishermen increased by 10,000%. Tuna's price increased that much. There was a pivotal moment, though, and a pivotal country that changed this. Explain.
Yeah. So, well, of course, it comes down to Japan and airplane executive that sees empty planes coming back to Japan. They were exporting so much that a clever engineer invents a new way of actually transporting fresh food through these cooling tanks. And he invents them and changes not just the transportation of tuna, but the transportation of fresh food throughout the world. And that was the beginning of an entirely new economy, the tuna economy. And that almost made us lose tuna forever. And then it's not like really a secret, is that tuna is on the way back. After having been at the brink of extinction, mostly the industry actually came together because they could see, we're going to run out of business. And with a few change of policies, we're actually able to change things around again, which is very, very hopeful. And I was very hopeful all throughout making of this Omnivore TV series.
Yeah, like fishing and overfished seas is a global crisis, and these are resources that are not renewable. And so, as you illustrate in this episode of the series, there is a lot of change being made from governments, but also from consumers. For our listeners, and I really highly recommend going to Tuna first or second. It's really a terrific episode. What are these changes being made, and is there anything us as consumers, because we eat so much tuna here, fresh tuna, it's such a staple of our appetite for sushi. What can we do?
I mean, the easiest answer to eat a little less, actually, as simple as that. Make it a luxury. Make it something you crave, that you build your appetite up towards, so that we allow the sushi makers around the world, New York City, to also use a little bit of more local fish on a daily basis and get to love them. We can eat tuna and not sort of ruin the world, but eat a little less of it. We don't need 5 portions of that tuna. We don't need to eat it with every single sushi meal. And that is a good way to start.
I mean, we call it bycatch here, right? Like we have this culture that's growing of chefs using their creativity to not use imported seafood from the North Atlantic or from Southeast Asia, but from the Cape Cod, from Long Island.
Makes so much sense.
It makes too much sense, but we still, as a culture, are married to toro. Like toro, whatever. But like for you, when you come to America, you probably taste all sorts of seafood.
Yeah, I mean, not on this trip, but I, of course, am not here coming to America to taste seafood from Japan.
Right.
I don't seek that out at all. If I was to go anywhere, I want to eat a clam from Cape Cod or wherever, or a crab or some other strange things. I'm ready for that. But I do understand that it can be complicated to sort of change habits overnight, and it doesn't happen like that. Everyone is also just looking to stay into business when you operate a restaurant, and there are these demands for people. But serving more local, fresh seafood, supporting your local network and supply chain as a general rule is obvious. It's stupid not to.
Listener, I'm team mackerel here. I think Americans need to eat more mackerel.
Mackerel is one of the best pieces of fish you can eat. Raw, slightly cooked, confit, mixed with a bit of mayonnaise on your toast. Anything.
Roasted. I mean, it really has...
Grilled. Marinated, grilled.
Yeah, we can go. We're doing Forrest Gump here with mackerel, and pretty much. I have to ask you about bananas. You're staring down at a banana split this summer.
Mm-hmm.
And, we love bananas. What are you thinking, though, after doing this really detailed episode about a fruit that we obviously know, but we don't know? No one knows that we're eating only one species of banana in America, but there's hundreds of them. Tell us a little bit about what we are going to learn on Omnivore about bananas.
Well, not only are you only eating one species of banana in America, we're only eating one species of banana almost in the entire world. I mean, you can be at an airport in Greenland where one plane lands a day. There will be a Cavendish banana in that tiny little store where they sell cigarettes and stuff. And the same thing is in Denmark or Tokyo, here in the airports of America. There's always banana alongside all the packaged goods, and it's one banana. And that comes with its own sets of problems when we're growing one variety. But we learn about the history of banana, how this came as being like a tropical fruit, and it sort of becomes the fruit of the world through this crazy story of wars and the
slavery,
the cutting down of rainforests. There's a long, murky story for banana to become the world's fruit.
It's violent. I mean, there's violence.
Oh, there's a lot of violence. For instance, one of the things that surprised me, and I had grown up, I think we all grew up with the term the Banana Republic. I thought that it was just signifying a country in disrepair of sort with a despot leader, not actually knowing that there's a different reason for it. I think people should discover this.
I agree. We don't want to give away the show. We also think about chinos in America when we think about Banana Republic, but that's another story. I feel like bananas are delicious, but we as a culture maybe rely on them too much out of like habit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're omnipresent. They're around everywhere. Yeah. They're cheap. The system is built so incredible that we can actually harvest a fruit from a jungle somewhere. And we can have it everywhere in a matter of days.
Now, let me ask you about Noma's relationship with bananas, because this is classically a difficult pairing. It is a tropical fruit that it's quite a monolith, like as a flavor profile.
We've never served banana.
Interesting.
Yeah,
really?
No, never. We only have it as staff food, basically. It's one of those fruits that's around. We've had sometimes our crew serve banana split for dessert. I've actually seen that twice. But we never had it on the menu.
It's
Only in Mexico. When we
Yeah.
did Noma Mexico, we had banana that's called plátano manzano, which translate to apple banana, and it's fresh, acidic. It has the acidity and the freshness like when you bite into an actual real green apple, but the creaminess of a banana. It was incredible. We served it with like seaweeds.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
I love that iteration. All I read about, I didn't go, but the Noma in Mexico, just the imagery coming out of that pop up was incredible. It's funny. I actually visited Noma. My old boss Marcus Samuelson had hooked us up, and I interviewed you until like 2013, and
Wow.
you gave me a nice tour of your offices and all that. But they were serving chocolate covered frozen bananas as family.
They were? Okay.
Yeah,
All right. I just have three moments now of banana.
Yeah, it's like funny because I was like, oh, maybe this is part of the staple at Noma, but no, that was it. I've been able to establish a really nice relationship with Chef Eric Ripert over the years, and I've traveled a bit with him. He's told this story on our show a few times. Do you remember when he came in when your restaurant was like half full?
Yeah.
And he
I remember.
Tell me about, from your point of view, he's told that story many times. What's it like having Eric Ripert roll in to Copenhagen? I think it was like off season. It was like winter. I mean, it was like not.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't any particularly special moment at all.
It was early in your career, though. It was before.
It was before the explosion happened.
Yeah.
And those were the days where, I mean, you could step in to Noma any day of the week and get a table. On every single lunch, there would be more or less 0 guests. It would not be uncommon on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday to have between 10 and 15 guests a night. And perhaps you'd have like 40 for dinner on a Friday or Saturday. And at that time, Eric Ripert, he's been at the forefront for so long. Here comes this big, great American chef. How did he find his way to us? It was just an impossible thought. I can't remember how that happened. But when that happens and you have somebody you respect deeply come to your restaurant, and Eric, he is one of those people. If he likes it, he shows it, and you can see it's genuine. So often when you have guests and people are, oh, I loved it, you can always sense this dude or that person, I'm not too sure.
They're not telling you.
They're just saying things to be polite. But Eric, and actually a lot of French people are like that. They can be a little bit reserved at first, but if they truly love food, they become like children. And Eric, he loved it. Those are the moments that fuels you for the next month or the next 6 months, because it's tough. And every month for so many years, like 6, 7 years, you're like, make the budget. And making the budget is like making paycheck.
Yeah. Sweating payroll. René, you sweat payroll.
Yeah, you're just trying to figure it out one month by month. And so you need the positive moments and interactions for you to tell yourself, keep going, keep believing in this.
Were you really stressed out at the time when you were getting 10 covers a night?
Yeah, I was, but not as much as when the success came.
Interesting.
When the success came, it was like so stressful. I mean, the first night of the success, which can be boiled down to the moment that we won number 1 on the world's 50 best list for the first time, we had 100,000 requests for tables in 24 hours or so.
That broke the internet in Denmark. I had to.
And you have to imagine these are requests. So tables of 2, tables of 4, tables of 6. It could have been 500,000 or 1 million people altogether that wanted tables in just 24 hours. It was so stressful. Suddenly we were busy. We had to hire more people, learning how to manage, learning how to deal with a big team, the pressures of suddenly everyone wants something from you. That made me very stressed.
All the while trying to maintain a semblance of consistency with your cuisine.
Yeah. I was very focused on that, though.
Okay.
I feel like I never really lost track on that. We were very good at, in that period, one thing we did well in that period was actually build out the whole food department. That's when the test kitchen was in full play. We started a fermentation lab in that period as well, which at the time was, groundbreaking. And what the resources we poured into that over the years have really been incredible for us. And so on and so forth. We had a foraging division where there was full-time foragers, and really spent a lot of time on being specialized in the things that we're good at.
Building on a real corporation, vertically integrated.
Except for the business corporation part of it. We never really fully understood that. And We never truly build that out in a way that, and perhaps it just isn't possible to do it in that way. Perhaps this change that we're going through is what's necessary for you to actually become an organization within the food space that has a financial foundation that can support everyone and the creativity for a lifetime. That's the hard one to
That's
crack.
still, it sounds like that's still in development.
Yes,
I mean,
of course it is.
Actually getting a footing, you had a pandemic wipe you clean. I mean, that must have been difficult. And
Pandemic was horrible.
yeah.
Horrible. I mean, I maxed out my house twice to pay bills during the pandemic. Luckily, the houses kept going up in that period. I don't know if it was the same in America.
Oh, yeah, you could take more money out of your house.
Yeah,
as
I did
you-
that twice during the pandemic.
This is like 2021.
This is recently.
This is, I mean, no, everyone is assuming the opposite with you, René. You're world famous. You have a long list. Like, you don't sound like you're a wealthy guy.
I tell my kids this all the time. Being wealthy is being rich and being wealthy are two different things.
Right.
I'm not rich in money. I'm wealthy in many things. In that sense, I'm quite happy. But financially, I'm doing fine. I have a house. Me and my wife, we have 2 bikes. We don't own a car. We get to travel. We have freedom. We can do what we want. We live in Copenhagen. We swim in the ocean every day. It's a better life.
I love to hear that, René. Thank you for being candid about that. I think that's important to get down. Cookbook future. What can we say? Love your books. You publish with Leah Ronan at Artisan. Huge fan of her work and what they're doing at Artisan. Talk about these books coming up.
We have one book coming out. So the fermentation book that we did was incredible.
The Hand.
Yeah, the Hand. We have the next Hand coming, which is not necessarily on fermentation, but it's about all the condiments that we use at the restaurant.
Yes.
Whether it being fruit leathers, vinaigrettes, sauces, pickles, preservations, all the stuff that surrounds the meal that we have hundreds of items of, that's coming. That book is
my
coming.
gosh, the chefs are so stoked about this. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have you back to talk about that. René, before we get to the taste check, I want to know Omnivore Season 2. Please tell me that you've got a board of between 10 and 100 more episodes. I really hope you can bring it back for more episodes. It's just a tremendous show on Apple TV+.
I can tell you we have more than 100 different items that we see fantastic episodes. Ultimately, it's going to depend on if people watch it. If people watch it, Apple TV Plus might say, let's do it again.
You guys heard that. You have Apple TV Plus. Many of you do. Go and watch this show. It's really, really, really great. I mean it. We get a lot of pitches for a lot of TV shows on the show. René, it's a deeply important show, and the way it's presented is new for food for me, and I cannot recommend it enough.
Wow. Thank you so much, man.
On This Is Taste, we ask guests about their discerning tastes. So to close this interview, René, here's a little rapid-fire, fast and furious taste check. Are you ready?
I'm so ready.
The best fruit.
The first thing that came to mind was peach, but I've just had one from the market.
Yeah, it's fine. They're actually pretty good here in New York. The worst vegetable.
Brussels sprouts.
Interesting. Do you ever put them on the menu at Noma?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I love them today, but I love all vegetables today, except for Brussels sprouts when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah. They were bad when you were a kid. They've gotten better. The best dessert.
Crème brûlée.
Your favorite New York City restaurant.
Momofuku Sambar 2005 and WD50 2005. Those 2 restaurants changed the world.
It cannot be understated. I agree fully.
They changed the world.
R.I.P. both of them. R.I.P. Sam. It's just a travesty that restaurant is not located where it used to be located. Mm-hmm. Well said. Your favorite European restaurant?
Etxebarri in the Basque Country.
They still do the steak for dessert there?
They still do the steak. And I mean, listen, when we talk about steak, everyone that's listening, you have to think of a dairy cow that's 11 years old, that's been roaming the foothills of this, the soft Basque countryside, eating wild grasses mostly. And then at the end of their life, it becomes steak. It is the best meat you can eat.
It's a long waiting list as well to get into that place. Favorite American fast food chain? Honestly, I'm not going to sound like I'm a snob or anything, but I have no clue. It's not a snob. You just have no clue. I have no clue. I mean, people. I know everyone loves Chick-fil-A. Maybe it's Shake Shack. Fair enough.
If I were to choose anything, it's Shake Shack, because when we were in Kyoto doing a pop-up, there was a Shake Shack nearby.
It's nice for staff to get Shake Shack once in a while. Few more. Your favorite cookbook of all time?
That is the first El Bulli cookbook, which was extraordinary. And then it is also, it's not a cookbook, but it influenced me greatly. Stalking the Wild Asparagus by Ewell Gibbons.
I don't know that one. That's new to me.
Yeah,
Amazing.
It's a foraging book.
I need to check that out. A cuisine you would like to learn more about?
Several. Indian would probably number one. And then when I say Chinese food, it's like a continent.
Exactly.
So those two I would really like to understand more of.
Your favorite sandwich?
Reuben.
Reuben. Tell me, take me through the ideal Reuben for you, René.
I mean, for me, it's the breast. What do you call that in English? So pastrami. You call it pastrami, but it is from the breast part of the cow.
Yeah.
That with lots of horseradish.
Oh, I like that twist.
Lots and lots of horseradish.
The bread choice?
I would prefer rye.
Love that. René Redzepi, what a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining This Is Taste. Eliza, we're back with three things. What is your first thing?
My first thing is very simple. Key lime pie slushy.
Oh my gosh. That sounds like a Sonic choice.
It was not a Sonic choice, but I do see where that could be. It was a choice at Edith's Sandwich Shop in Brooklyn. They're doing a collab with Kate's Key Lime Pie right now, which is a really great Brooklyn-based kind of like independent pie baker. I did a collab pie with her last summer for Cake Scene. I'm a big fan of her pies. And so when I saw that they were doing this slushy, I just compelled myself to go to Williamsburg on a Saturday morning, which is not something I would normally do, and wait in the bagel line. And I got a really nice bagel sandwich, and this slushy was really just kind of creamy and delicious. And I don't think it has like pie crust in it. I think it's mostly the key lime filling, but I would definitely recommend it. I think it's available for the foreseeable future in the summer.
That sounds incredible. How much ice is packed into it?
I mean, I didn't see how it was made.
Yeah.
So it was very icy, which is what I wanted because it's so hot here in the city. But I would say it was surprisingly creamy. So even if there is a lot of ice as the core of it, it doesn't read as watery.
It doesn't. That's what my question is, because balancing that creaminess with the acidity and the balance of the lime and then getting the icy nature of it, not an easy feat.
Yeah, and Edith's does a coffee slushie on their menu most of the time. So I think that maybe they're expanding their slushie universe, which is exciting news.
I could go for a good slushie right now.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
What's your first thing?
Eliza, I finally made it to Kisa.
Oh, what did you think?
I am so down with this place. We had spoken about it on our previous three things. To remind everyone, it's the new restaurant from the C as in Charlie crew. It is a Korean restaurant that has a real identity. Even in these modern times, I think we're looking back with Korean food. There's a lot of imagery. There's a lot of aesthetic choices that tip back to the 70s in this restaurant. And wow, I was super impressed. So I was there last week on one of the hottest days of the year, and the AC was out. And it's funny, I walk in and it's like, it's hot in here. But then I see the format, which is it's $32 and you get a central protein and a bunch of banchan, and it's kind of, the style is called baekbang, which is like shared plates, and there's a long history in Korea around the style, and there's a little bit of a tie to cab drivers in these style of restaurants. I think that's like a tidy narrative, but I think there's actually, you can find it in all parts of Korean, and it's not just for cab drivers. That's not the point. But I walk in, I see these dishes, and I kind of forget that it's like 85 degrees in there. And I had written somebody who works for the team the next day, and they were like really apologetic about not having AC. And literally, I was like, I had no idea. That's how good this place is right now.
Wow. So what protein did you get?
We actually ordered all four. We had a pretty big group. So the cool thing is that there's 4 proteins, and then there's like 8 to 10 banchan. Bulgogi jeokbokum, which is sauteed pork. There's a bibimbap, and onjeobokum, which is the stir-fried squid. So there's like dishes for everyone. And I thought I like the jeokbokum probably the best, the pork dish. But for me, it was the side dishes that were the star.
Yeah.
Did you have the raw shrimp when you were there?
I did have the raw shrimp. I had the like little cute like rice cake hot
Hot
dog
dog.
skewers, all of those. I ordered the squid as my protein
Yeah.
when I was there, but my server told me that like the pork is the most popular one and that there's like a meme in Korea that like men eat spicy pork. I think it's like probably a joke that doesn't translate, but it made me feel like I needed to go back and try that one.
Yeah, spicy pork. They're all really good. What a value. $32, and you can get refills for your panchan, so you can actually get more omelet, or I love the sweet potato that's kind of sauteed in meshel or some kind of sweet syrup. There's an egg omelet that I really liked. And it's no reservation, which is the trick. So you got to get there a little early. I was speaking with one of the owners, and I just love this place. I'm going to link to the show notes. Go there. You got to show up around 4:30. There's usually a line, but honestly, if you get there like at the end of service, like any place in New York, we're tending to dine earlier. So if you can like be one of those late comers, I think you'll have great luck there.
Yeah, I also just want to say that I think that late summer is a really good time to walk into more like trendy restaurants in New York when less people are in town, especially if there's a holiday or something going on. Like you can probably get a seat.
Absolutely. I just wrote about that in our newsletter about that idea of like summers in New York. I agree with you fully. I remember I walked into Hearth one time on a summer 4th of July weekend, and it was like half full, and I had like the most incredible meal that felt like the servers were working for me and only me. It was like a private meal. And again, you can get like those, like you say, it's these very hot tables are all available in August, and support restaurants in August, right? This is where restaurants go to die.
Not here, not now.
Not here right now. Let's hope that. I mean, this is like we need to support restaurants throughout these tough summer months because it's tough to get the numbers.
Yeah, definitely.
What's your next one?
My next one is a pop-up, as I love to go to pop-ups. I went to a really good one at Little Egg last weekend where my Cake Scene co-founder Tanya Bush is the pastry chef. She was doing a collab with Nico Villaseñor, who was cooking most recently at Friday in Fort Greene and Four Horsemen before that. And they were doing this very summery menu. And Tanya has just been obsessed with Nico's cooking for a long time. I think she met him when he was cooking at Friday, and she would just be there all of the time. And I really trust Tanya's taste because she is discerning. So I went in just knowing it was going to be great. And I had so much fun. Nico did like some really cool kind of like European summer vibe dishes. He did like salt and vinegar fried wax beans served over aioli. You could kind of swipe it into almost like a French fry or like a fried fish even, but with the beans instead. There's a really good grilled pork collar. And Tanya's desserts were really special. She did like a fig leaf semifreddo that was really good. I think fig leaf is kind of a trendy dessert flavor right now.
Absolutely.
Actually.
I agree with you, Phil. I've seen it. And I think I was at Superiority Burger and they had a fig leaf gelato in the menu.
And she also is trying out a dessert that I'm hoping is going to make it permanently into Little Egg, which is kind of a take on an affogato. It has homemade amaro and then a tahini ice cream that it's poured over. I love any kind of saucy ice cream situation.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really special. It was also quite hot when we were there, but it was the food that made it worthwhile. So,
I got to get to Little Egg. And I feel like these pop-ups are very, very a big part of the vibe of the restaurant these days.
Yeah, you know, they are a daytime restaurant. So the only time they're open for dinner is when they're doing a pop-up. So this was a 2-night dinner pop-up. And I think over the summer, maybe there'll be a couple more. It's always kind of fun to get to go somewhere after dark, so to speak. And I think Nico is really a star. I'm not sure where he's cooking next, but I would definitely link his Instagram in the show notes and just kind of see wherever he's going.
Yeah, remember that name. And I had aioli yesterday. I was at Lola Pizzeria in Kingston, and I had artichokes with a really nice aioli. And I'm like, I don't know why I don't think about mayonnaise in the summertime, but it like goes on these like grilled fish, grilled octopus, grilled artichokes. I love it.
I feel like a mayonnaise love, especially in the summertime. I feel like good mayo with anything is kind of fun.
It's totally fun.
What's your second thing?
My friends came up for 4th of July from Philly, and they brought a box of pastries from Mighty Bread Company in Philadelphia and South Philly. Wow, I'm like blown away by this bakery. Have you heard of this Mighty Bread Company?
I feel like I've seen them on Instagram, perhaps.
Yeah, well, they're really, really cool. They're known for their naturally leavened sourdoughs, and they have like 4 or 5 available every day. They started as a pop-up and then a window and then a proper bakery. Coconut oat cookies, carrot ginger muffins. I really like the way they're doing the pastry box. It's not the standard lamination, though they do that as well. I'm not here to talk about any of that stuff. I'm here to talk about the cherry pie.
Oh, I love a cherry pie. What kind of, was it a slice of pie? Was it hand pie?
Well, it was a full lattice pie. It was not a crumble, but a lattice. And I come from Michigan. We are known for our cherry pies. We have like this whole thing in the northern parts during the August cherry season, or actually it's more July, but it's something around there. I have to say, I'm sorry, Michigan. I'm sorry, Washington State, too. You guys have some great cherry pies. I've never had a better cherry pie in my life. The way the cherries were first oversized, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't shrink down. It wasn't like also that like kind of jello-y gel, gloopy filling. There was like real separation between the fruit and the sauce. And for whatever reason, the acidity, sweetness, tartness balance, perfect. Love this pie.
I'm very jealous of this pie.
Yeah, I know. I'm jealous that my friends get to have it all the time in Philly, and I'm like I just had one pie and that's it, one and done.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe we'll head down to Philly. I think we're due for a road trip. You and I and Clayton hitting the road.
Yeah, we've recovered from our Wisconsin road trip, so we can run it back.
Wisconsin, we went to Vegas, man.
I know, but we were driving all around the state of Wisconsin.
You're right.
I think we covered every corner.
Yeah, we covered many parts of Wisconsin. What is your next one?
My last one is that I went to Mag Culture Live yesterday. Do you know about this event?
Completely. And I was wondering if you were there. I was watching it on Instagram. A few people were posting from it. And tell me about it. It's great.
Yeah, so Mag Culture is a London-based magazine shop. They have a really great selection. They do sell Cake Scene, among every other good title. And they, for the past couple of years, have been doing a day of kind of magazine talks here in New York.
Yeah.
I went to the one 3 years ago. Last year, I was where was I? Oh, I was in Paris for a Cake Scene event, but Tanya actually came back and spoke at it last year. And this year, I just stopped in to listen to everyone speaking. And they have a ton of great like magazine editors there from all different kinds of walks of life. So they have folks from Airmail. They do a whole indie session, which is cool, where I saw the folks from Byline speak. Also, this magazine called It's Freezing in LA, which is a climate magazine that I think is just really cool in terms of the interdisciplinary ways they talk about climate, obviously like the realities of this moment that we're in, which is pretty hot, but then some kind of exciting and interesting climate stories as well. And then I did buy a lot of magazines in the shop there as well. And they do this every year. And I think obviously this one just happened, but if you are interested in magazines, either tuning in online or coming by if you're in New York is a really cool way to kind of meet other magazine folks, get to look at things in person that maybe you've only seen on Instagram.
Very cool. I'd love to stop by the Mag Culture shop in London. Do you think they'll have a New York shop at some point?
Yeah, so they did a pop-up here in New York.
Yeah.
I think it's closing this week because they're flying back to London, but it was running for the past couple weeks.
Okay.
Maybe they'll come back again. And certainly if you're in London, I think this is a really special shop. It almost reminds me of Casa Magazines in some way. I mean, it's much more like newer and, isn't also a bodega in the way that Casa Magazines is. Like, they're truly just a magazine stand. But I think the way that they are kind of embedded in the zine community in London reminds me of the way that Casa is kind of held up as the heart of indie magazines here in New York. And it's certainly fun to just stop by and pick up something new.
I love it. Have you been to the new Airmail newsstand?
No, but I have a note to go because when I was hearing them talk yesterday, they were mentioning this newsstand that they have. I think it's on Houston.
Yeah, it's a really cool place. Yeah, it's downtown. It's really worth checking out.
Yeah, and they sell like not just magazines, but products they've written about in the publication, things like that. They were saying that it's actually a good way for them to pick up new subscribers, is that they have foot traffic in this part of downtown. And so people just see the store and come in and then decide to subscribe to the newsletter.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure if you buy something, they give a discount and they can sign up at the register. Yeah, it all makes sense for these subscription-based media companies to have like a offline or physical store.
Yeah. Something else that I learned yesterday that the Airmail folks said is that there is nothing in the definition of a magazine that says it has to be in print, which I thought was interesting because I think we all think of magazines as a print object, but they're obviously an email only. They've never made a print product for this magazine, although a lot of Vanity Fair folks are a part of it. So,
well, in fact, the publication that you and I co-edited, we call it a magazine in our About section, and I fully agree. I think of Taste as an online food culture magazine. I use that word like from day one in 2017, and fully agree that a magazine does not have to have physical print. It's more of like the style of the journalism, the style of the writing. I love that you bring that up.
Yeah, so it was super interesting.
Let me ask you one thing. A Taste physical store. What do you think about that?
Like a pop-up shop?
Could be started as a pop-up, sure. Could be physical. Could be like more permanent, but I guess it would probably have to start as a pop-up. What would you want to see in it?
I mean, I feel like the obvious answer is products that we've written about in the magazine, cookbook section, magazine section would be fun.
Yeah.
It would be fun if there could be a little cafe in the front where we could do recipes. The recipes that Zola makes for her column would be really fun to have like a little pastry case. I'm into it. I feel like The Strategist did a holiday pop-up in New York a couple of years ago, and I'm not sure if it ever turned into a full store for them.
Yeah.
Obviously, we all know how difficult it is to rent a physical space, especially here in New York, so that's why I'm on the pop-up vibe. But I think that doing a store that had objects and also like food you could eat would be really fun.
Yeah, I think my dream would be to have a space where we sell a lot of cookbooks and independent publications like yourself, like Cake Scene, and we have a lot of our authors there in person. And I would love to bring this studio into our store and do live events.
Oh, yeah. We should have a little podcast room that people with the little sign that says on air.
On air, little on air sign. Yeah.
Yeah, like at Canal Street Market, how they have the little podcast recording room.
Completely. I feel, I don't know. We've like toyed with that. I remember when Turnstile opened, we had meetings there back in like 2018 about doing like some kind of cookbook pop-up.
This is the underground mall by where we record, which I don't think would have been the ideal. We would have all never seen the sunlight.
No windows, and it smells like, scented candles and
the donut shop.
The donut shop.
There's a little mini donut shop.
It's
there.
good. Those donuts are really good, and I respect them for staying open. There's actually a story in the New York Times about that specific retail shop. Do you know that like over 50% of Subway retail spaces are vacant in New York City?
I mean, I think there are a couple things that should be sold in the Subway. Bodega, flower shop.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it.
I think wine works because of the gifting element. I'm sure in Q4 you would sell a lot of wine. Yeah, there's like certain things you wouldn't want. Like maybe donuts, I guess.
I just feel like if I'm on my office lunch break, I don't want to go underground to get my lunch.
No.
And if I'm in and out of the subway, I'm in a hurry. So I don't want to stop and be underground for longer, especially in the summer when it's so hot out.
I agree. It's challenging down there. Back to the Taste pop-up shop, I'm kind of like, we're like talking about it. Maybe it actually becomes something real.
Yeah, if you're listening and you have affordable retail space in New York, let us know.
Let's talk. We can talk terms. I just think having our authors here at Crown have a space to demo. I love the way in Seattle, the bookstore in Seattle. Booklarder. I love the way they have that beautiful demo kitchen within the bookstore. I think there's something there, like we could get our authors to come by and do some demo. I don't know.
Yeah, I like it.
We're riffing.
Do you have a final thing?
I do. And speaking of indie media, Gary He's new McAtlas, holy cow, it's amazing. It's in pre-order. I'm linking to the show notes. Gary's a longtime photojournalist and writer at places like Eater, the New York Times. He sent me a very early PDF of the book. It's not completed yet, just so I could prep for a conversation. And really, it's such a cool document. He went to almost 50 countries to visit McDonald's. Let that sink in.
Yeah, I'm processing. I'm thinking about all of the different like specialty menu items that they have at different locations. Is that a big part of the book?
Absolutely. Really nice instinct there. I agree. This is a big part of the book. Traveling the world and seeing the way that, the filet-o-fish is done. There's like all sorts of Mexican food in Scandinavian countries. There's cup of noodles in Taiwan. I mean, there's like really, really an amazing array of special dishes, special items.
I mean, if we're talking about fast food in Taiwan, have you seen Pizza Hut Taiwan?
No.
That is incredible. They have like a pizza that looks like a turtle, for example. They really, it's like an art form, the level of fantasy fast food that's happening.
Yeah. Well, Gary's book is a really, it's shot beautifully. He put in the work, and we're going to talk about it in a future episode, but really hit that pre-order button. It's going to make such a gift in the fall. I'm a huge fan of Gary and his work, and I love this book, McAtlas.
McAtlas. Thanks for talking 3 things with me.
Great catching up with you, Eliza. This is Taste is hosted by Eliza Abarbanel and me, Matt Rodbard. The show is produced by Shalia Harris and Pat Stango and edited by Clayton Gumbert. Theme music by Steve Rydell. Visit Taste online at tastecooking.com and make sure to subscribe to our newsletter for updates on all cool things that are happening.